Alright guys, we are back talking about portfolios. Let's see here. We are on page 59 in your book today. So let's see here. I got course content. Oh, got to put your portfolio section. It's this one right here. Now it says we need to do technology 1 and 2. Most of these are obviously just technology 1. Here we have to do technology 1 and 2. But good news, technology 2 is super easy. Okay? Alright, so let's go to the ebook real fast and see what we're supposed to do here. So it says page 59, we're on page 59. Here is technology 1 and 2. Now just to reiterate, when it says the portfolio on page 59, we only have to do the technology assignments. We don't do the skills unless your teacher tells you to. If you're in my class, all you're doing is the technology portions. In this case, both technologies, but don't have to do the skills or applications. Of course, that stuff will be helpful for you, but not for this assignment. You don't have to. Okay, so it says create a spreadsheet based on the car payment calculations on page 58. You should be able to enter different values for the month's interest rate and loan amount and calculate the payment automatically. A template to help you get started can be found in the online resources for the section. Do a web search, and this is part 2. Do a web search for different ways to remember the order of operations and find one you like. Warning: you may come across some that are not exactly family friendly. Now, it's actually a good warning because there are a lot that are not family friendly. So, if things like that offend you, then just make sure to be careful whenever you are, whenever you're looking at order of operations, because some of them are a little off color, you might say. Okay, so let's go here. What we need to do? Oh, well, first we need to get the template. It says there's a template under additional course resources. So if you go to course content in your Blackboard, let's see here. Now, usually somewhere I have mine in under course content, but this is what you're looking for: additional course resources. You should have a link like this somewhere. And what it does, now sometimes this takes a few minutes, a few seconds to load, so if it's going slow, just give it a sec. Drop down menu here, and we need to go to lesson, that's unit 1, it's lesson 1-7. And there is the template that we need for this portfolio. Now, to be honest with you, this template doesn't really save us any time. Make sure you hit enable editing. Because we could have done this in just a sec, but that's where you'll find other templates for other portfolios, so I wanted to make sure to show you that. Because we'll use some later on, templates that can be found there as well. Okay, it says put the needed formula in B4 so the car payment is calculated based on the values in B1, B2, and B3. Okay, just to review, I remember when we're talking about cells in Excel, we always talk about the column first, then the row. So this is cell L13. Now you can always see the name is listed right there in the name box for any cell. So you go over here, that's F1. Over here, that's cell B30. Now we're concerned about cells B1, column B, row 1, B2, and B3. Okay? Because that's where we're going to base this formula off cells B1, B2, and B3. Now, where's the formula? If we go back to our ebook over here, it says it's on the previous page. So let's scroll up here a little bit. There is our formula. And this is what we want our spreadsheet to look like. We want Excel to calculate this number based on whatever numbers we have in this cell, and this cell. So we don't want, when we're typing in the formula, which is this formula right here, when we're typing that into Excel, we don't want to use 36, 0.03, and 10,000. We want to use cell references. Now, we'll get into that in just a second. So we'll be able to change these numbers, and the payment cell B4 will automatically update. Now, so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. I'm going to make a little screenshot real fast and paste that into Excel. So I'm going to hit print screen on my keyboard. I'm going to go to Paint to crop this picture. Let's see, Paint. I'm going to go here. Now, one thing real fast. Since I know what we're doing here, let me talk about this for just a sec. So when you're in Excel, you have to follow syntax rules. So I'm going to go over here and let me insert a text box. Okay, I'm going to delete this and make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to say syntax in Excel. Okay. Now, syntax is like the rules for entering information. Now, so you have different types of syntax, but here we have syntax in Excel. We have to type that formula in so that Excel can understand it. Okay. Now, here's a few things we need to remember. Multiplication. If I could type. Okay. So instead of typing an X or like a dot to indicate multiplication, for Excel you have to type an asterisk. Okay. Division. It's called an obelisk. Obelisk is the little sign, the horizontal line with a dot above and a dot below. We're not going to use an obelisk here. We have to use the /. Okay. And then what about exponents? Okay. With an exponent, well, we would just write a superscript. A little number above and to the right. That's a superscript. But that's not how Excel requires exponents to be entered. They require the caret key. That's Shift 6. It's a caret. Okay, a little upward pointing arrow. Okay, so those are some of the syntax operators. Those are called operators. Multiplication operator, division operator, exponent operator. We need to use those when we're typing this formula. Okay, now what else? And our substitutions. That box that the text I just erased, that told us that we want to make these substitutions. Substitutions, okay. Instead of typing 36, we want to type cell B1. Instead of 0.03, we want to type cell B2. Oh, if I could type right. And then instead of 10,000, we want to type cell B3. So we need to make those substitutions. Okay? Now, let's go over here back to our formula. I am going just to go ahead and let you know that in order to get the order of operations right, we need to install some extra parentheses here. Because if we type this into Excel as is, exactly how we have written here, of course, adding the division symbols and multiplication symbols and stuff, what Excel would do, it would take this numerator and divide by this portion of the denominator, calculate that fraction, then subtract 1. But that would be incorrect, because what we want to do is take this entire numerator and divide by this entire denominator. So in order to achieve that, we need to add some parentheses. Well, first of all, when you start off a formula in Excel, it always starts off with an equal sign. Now this is going to be pretty messy because I'm drawing with the mouse here, not a pen, not a stylus. But it'll be all right since we're just doing a quick couple parentheses here. And now we need to insert an extra set of parentheses around the numerator, and then an extra set around the denominator. And I think that should be good for us. That's all you gotta do. Then of course make the substitutions. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it into my spreadsheet temporarily so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth between these windows. So let's go back to Excel and let's paste this. There we are. Right there. So this is my formula, and I want to type it in using these substitutions and these operators. Other than that, I'm just typing that formula. That's all I'm doing. So it's not hard, maybe a tad tedious, but not hard. So we want to type this entire thing in cell B4. Now notice when I start typing, it pops up here too. So it's going to be a lot of information, and it's going to look funny when I type it in here. It might not display it all because it's going to be too much information to fit in this little bitty cell, visibly. But look up here, and you can always see everything. See right there, it doesn't show, it has an error, but up here it shows exactly what's in the cell. Okay, so click on the cell. First thing with a formula is always an equal sign. We're gonna do several more portfolio assignments in Excel where you're using formulas, and these are called cell references, substitutions here. And you always want to start a formula off with an equal sign. If you don't start with an equal sign, Excel will just display whatever text you type and not do the calculations for you. Okay, so let's see here. So we equals, now we have, just like it shows here, two right opening parentheses to start with. Okay, now we're going to type in this fraction. Remember, we're not typing 0.03, we're typing B2. So B2 divided by 12. Then we're going to close the first parenthesis, so first set of parentheses. Now we want to multiply by 10,000. How do we multiply? We use the asterisk. That's Shift 8. Then open that. This middle set of parentheses is not really mandatory, but I'll add them just to follow the formula. Now we don't want to type 10,000. We want to type the reference to the cell that 10,000 lives in. So 10,000 lives in cell B3. So B3, close that middle set of parentheses. Then we need to multiply again, so that's an asterisk. Then open that next set of parentheses. Then 1 plus, okay, we have 0.03, but remember we're substituting cell B2 everywhere there's a 0.03. Divide by 12, so /12. Close that set of parentheses. Now notice how we're all color-coded up here. That's nice because Excel shows you how when you open a set of parentheses, the opening and closing parentheses match in color. So that's pretty nice. Then we are going to raise that to the 36th power. Well, not the 36th power necessarily. We want to raise it to the B1 power. Because everywhere there's a 36, we're going to substitute B1. So B1. Now we have to close that parenthesis. So that's the numerator. We've typed exactly what this formula says for the numerator. Now we want to divide. So when you divide, you use the /. Now we want to open 2 more sets of parentheses. So notice down here it's always a bunch of jumble, but if you're looking up here, you'll be fine. Okay, then we have 1 plus 0.03 over 12, but it's going to be actually B2 divided by 12. Close that first set of parentheses. Raise, so the caret, Shift 6, not to the 36th power, but to the B1 power. Oh, and notice I typed lowercase there. That's fine. Now, it looks better if you do uppercase, but if you use lowercase or uppercase for the cell references, it doesn't make a difference. So B1, then -1, close that last parentheses. Now, I notice there how, pay attention, see how it bolds the parentheses for just a sec? That shows you those are matching parentheses, that those two correspond. So that's a really nice feature that the newer versions of Excel have. Okay, now, the book tells us that the answer for this particular 36, for these cells, for 36, 0.03, and 10,000, the book tells us that the answer is like $290 and, I can't remember, about $290. So if we hit enter and get an error or a different number, then we have a problem. Let's see. Oh, we're good. 290.81. That's what we should have gotten. So what this tells us is that if we buy a car for $10,000 at an interest rate of 0.03% compounded annually, or excuse me, compounded monthly, for 36 months, so 3 years, this is what our payment will be. Now that is what a bank would do to calculate your payment. The only thing that's different is, of course, you'd have to pay insurance, taxes, and a few things like that. But this is how you would repay the loan. Now, this is a really neat formula. This formula there, the name for it is called the amortization payment formula. Now, the only thing different is this has 12s on those numerators, which means this formula is set up for monthly payments. But you could easily change it for quarterly payments 4 times a year, or whatever you want, yearly payments. But this is called the amortization payment formula. Amortization is just a fancy $10 word for the process of paying off a loan where the periodic payments are equal, but it allows you to pay off a loan with interest. Now, if there wasn't any interest, all you have to do is take $10,000 and divide by 36, and that would be how much you have to pay each month. But of course, well, I guess they do have 0% loans if you have really good credit, but most people don't get 0% loans. So you have to pay the bank to borrow that money, and that's called interest. So it's actually a really neat way. It's really neat how this formula comes together. It takes a little bit of calculus and a little bit of know-how mathematically to see where this formula comes from, but it's super useful. I've taught business and financial mathematics previously, and it was always one of my favorite classes to teach because it's really neat and it's really cool to see all the different things you can do with this and similar formulas. Because you can talk about paying off mortgages and paying them off early, and how interest rates change, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with this. So that's just called the amortization payment formula. Now, the reason we did this spreadsheet was because since we used cell references instead of the actual numbers, watch what happened. Let's say that, oh, my credit's not as good as I thought it was, and I have to pay 6% instead. So watch how, okay, so I have to pay a higher interest rate, so my payment's going to go up. Watch what happens. So 0.06 instead of that 0.03. So 6% instead of 3%. Now watch cell B4. See, my monthly payment just went up. It went from $290 to $304. So, about a $13 difference, a little over $13. Okay. Let's say that I want to finance for 24 months instead of 36 months. So for 2 years instead of 3 years. So if you're going to finance for a shorter amount of time, again, your payment will go up. Now watch what happens. So put a 24 there instead of 36. So I'm starting off at $290.81 and $429. So what, about $140 additional? But that'll allow you to pay the car off faster. Or let's say the car, a $10,000 car you found, it'll get the job done. And here's the payment if you finance for 36 months at 3% interest. Let's say you still want to finance at 36 months at 3% interest, but let's say you really want a car it's a nicer car, it's $15,000. So what you can do is plug in $15,000 instead of 10 and see how your payment changes. So it's at $290 right now to $436. So again, about $145 difference there. So you could use something like this to make a better informed decision about car buying, or you could do a similar thing for house buying. In fact, I've created spreadsheets that compare different loan scenarios. Like if you have one loan from the first bank, they have this interest rate, but this closing cost versus this interest rate, but that closing cost. You can do all kinds of comparisons using a very similar spreadsheet. So these are really useful. But that's portfolio. That's the gist of this portfolio. That's done. That's technology 1. We just want to play around and see how changing these values automatically updates the payment, which is cell B4. Or let's say you have really good credit and you only have to pay 1% interest. So 0.01. Well, your payment goes down a little bit, not too much. Because in all actuality, you're not paying a ton of interest when you finance for 36 months. When you finance for 10 years or 15 years, then you're paying lots of interest. But car loans are always so short. There's not a ton of interest being paid to start with. So the payment only changes, in that case, about $8. Okay, so that is technology 1, that portion. Remember for this portfolio, you have to do technology 1 and 2. So technology 2 is just doing a Google search for a way to remember the order of operations. So I'm going to delete this. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to type in here. Okay. So this is how you would need to do this. So for technology 2, you want to, again, go to insert a text box just somewhere out of the way, not on top of your technology 1. And here I'll just label it a new way to remember the order of operations. Okay. Now remember, order of operations. That's the thing, everybody knows. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So something like that, except new. So literally, all you have to do is Google, say maybe a unique way to remember the order of operations, or maybe type in fun ways to remember the order of operations. There's tons of different ones. Again, so I'm going to type in something like, I am going to type in, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now, what does that mean, man? You always do parentheses first, then exponents, multiplication and division, addition, subtraction. Now, this can be misleading because, well, it's good to remember this, but remember that multiplication and division are one and the same, more or less. So they kind of happen at the same time. So just remember that this does take interpretation. You can't just remember this exactly. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. This does require interpretation. Or there's another one everybody knows, which is PEDMAs. So there's 2 examples, but again, we all know these, so don't write those. You need to find a new way. Okay, so do a Google search, insert a text box over here out of the way, and then type in the new way you found. There's all kinds of sayings. The word for these is, let's see if I can remember how to spell it. Mnemonic, maybe? Is that right? Let's see if I got it right. Let's go to review and spelling. Oh, yeah, I guess I got it right. I never can. That's a word I always seem to mess up. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that's an example of a mnemonic. It's like a phrase to help remember something. So in this case, we're trying to remember the order of operations, and so a mnemonic helps you remember that. So that's what you want to do here. So go out there to Google and find something like "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" or PEDMAs, but not these 2, since everybody knows those 2. Insert it into a text box right here, and then all you have to do. So that's technology 2. This is technology 1. That's technology 2, and we're done. Let's actually double check real fast before I say we're done. Let's see here. Ebook. Let's see. Spreadsheet using cell references. Yes, we did that. Do a web search for different ways to remember the order of operations. Yeah. Okay. So that's technology 1 and 2. So we're good there. All you have to do is save this. Now remember, the way I require my students to save is using this this convention. Last name underscore first name underscore P, and whatever page number it is. This is page 59. And save. Now remember, if you're not using Microsoft Excel, maybe you're using a Mac program, or maybe you're using OpenOffice, make sure to save it in Excel format. So use the drop-down menu when you save as, and make sure you're saving as either .xls or .xl .xlsx or .xls. Okay. Otherwise, your teacher probably won't be able to open it because everybody around here, all the instructors have Windows machines. So make sure to save it. Make sure to save it in an appropriate format, which is Excel format. Okay. And that's all you do. So, of course, remember how to submit. This is only the second one, so I'll review it real fast. We don't need that anymore. Let's go to portfolios. So again, course content, portfolios. Now, if you have a different class, it may be slightly different, but it'll be a similar process. This is 1-7, page 59. Just make sure to, here you can attach the file, find where it is on your computer. We saved it on the desktop, and then that's all you gotta do. Hit submit, and you are good to go. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, ask your teacher. I hope this has been helpful. Always try to do it on your own first. Try to work it out. If you can't figure it out, if you don't see where the problem is, with this one, double check your formula, because that formula can be tricky. Just make sure to follow the exact instructions I give you. But if you still can't figure any of these out, don't sweat it. Ask me before class, after class, shoot me an email, and we'll make sure to clear up whatever confusion you're having. So, hope it's been helpful. You guys have a great week. I'll see you soon.